It's 8 p.m. Here are our top stories. A horrific mass shooting at a Buffalo store targeting black customers and employees.
We're not just hurting, we're angry, we're mad. This shouldn't have happened.
As the community tries to grapple with this senseless tragedy, a survivor of the Table Mesa King Soopers shooting speaks out.
It was in a grocery store. The number alone of people killed, the fact that they were singled out specifically for the reason of their race is unfathomable to me.
And Colorado's community leaders take a stand against this act of terror, saying something has to change.
For our allies, they need to step up.
What investigators call baseless claims of child sexual assault against an Aurora City Council member.
It was a complete lie. All I can say is this is a parent's worst nightmare.
A warrant has been issued for the partner of Aurora's fired police chief.
You cannot weaponize a system at your discretion.
As the nation mourns the 10 victims murdered at a supermarket in Buffalo, officials say they are investigating this as a hate crime, one calling it an act of pure evil.
We're learning more about the victims whose lives were lost and the alleged hate-filled beliefs police say drove the gunman to commit this act of violence. Good evening and thank you for watching Denver 7 News on Local 3 tonight. I'm Shannon Ogden.
I'm Danny New. Authorities say the suspected gunman apparently had plans to cause even more terror that afternoon.
Police say the 18-year-old shooter traveled hours to the grocery store in this predominantly black neighborhood and had spoken about possibly going to another store. They say the scope of evidence is massive, including a 180-page document filled with racist anti-Semitic rhetoric.
Among the 10 victims, a deacon, a retired Buffalo police officer, and 2 grandmothers. Tomorrow, President Biden and the First Lady will be visiting Buffalo to speak with victims' families and law enforcement.
And as this community tries to make sense of the disaster, some are, of course, reminded of that day when a man opened fire at Boulder's Table Mesa King Soopers that was just over a year ago.
Denver 7 CB Cotton sat down with the woman who survived that shooting and spoke out for the first time on television.
I would say that there are good days and bad days.
Every day is different, but it all stems back to the single day her life changed forever.
My name is Chelsea Krasowski. I was an employee in the deli on the day of the Boulder shooting.
In March of last year, a gunman shot and killed 10 people inside a Boulder King Soopers. Now, it's happened again, this time thousands of miles away in Buffalo, New York.
My first thought was all of the similarities, that it was in a grocery store, the number alone of people killed.
A key difference, a motive in the Boulder shooting remains unknown. In Buffalo, the shooting has already been ruled a hate crime by the FBI. And while Krasowski says she can't understand the pain of the black community in this moment,
the fact that they were singled out specifically for the reason of their race is unfathomable to me.
She does know those who survived the attack will face a long journey ahead.
The community came together in such a big way here, and across the country even. There was so much support here in Boulder, and I can only hope that there's that same outpouring of love and support for that community.
She also hopes prosecution of the alleged shooter will move swiftly. This April, the Boulder King Soopers shooting suspect was ruled incompetent to stand trial for a 3rd time.
I want them to have closure beyond that support and help that they will need.
And today, the FBI Director Chris Wray released a statement on the Buffalo shooting, not only calling it a hate crime, but also saying it was an act of racially motivated violent extremism. Coming up on Denver 7 News at 10, we'll speak with an expert on targeted violence about the warning signs that someone you know or love may be on the cusp of committing an act of violence. Back to you.
Thank you, CB. Religious leaders in Denver's 5 Point neighborhoods are also reeling from the tragic shooting in Buffalo. As leaders at Agape Christian Church in Denver work through their own feelings, they are planning a healing community conversation. Pastor Robert Woolfolk says that he knows a lot of his church and community members have been impacted by this latest tragedy.
The goal is to bring healing to some of the hurt and the pain that keeps on happening with situations like Buffalo, situations like things that happen at churches in communities, synagogues.
Agape Christian Church says their healing community conversation will be held Wednesday at 11 a.m. in the church located on California Street. Anyone who needs a safe space to talk about the trauma of a mass shooting is welcome to attend.
Police in California believe the man who shot and killed a man in an Orange County church was a Chinese immigrant motivated by hate for Taiwanese people. 5 other people were injured in the shooting. Police say churchgoers hogtied the suspect and held him until police arrived. Officers are calling the man killed 52-year-old Dr. John Chang a hero. He tried to disarm that gunman. Denver police just released this new video showing a double shooting at a lounge near 16th Street Mall in Wazee. So take a look. You can see 2 suspects start arguing with another group at the Native Lounge and Hotel. Both pull guns and start firing. This happened May 8th. Both victims expected to live. And if you know who these people are, please call Denver police.
Tonight, Denver City's City Council has approved the final vote on banning concealed carry in parks and city buildings. An amendment to have parks taken out of this legislation was proposed by Councilmember Candy Sitibaka, but was shot down. Also, Council approved the addition of more halo cameras around the city to help reduce crime. Currently, there are 259 halo cameras set up in Denver. In total, the entire proposal will cost the city $1.4 million.
Happening now at Aurora City Council, a presentation on the Youth Violence Prevention Program and the changes made to it. Now, Council wanted to see more intervention in the plan over prevention. There will also be more focus on gang-related youth violence, along with regular program updates and ways to measure how well it's working, like data on assaults. That's one of the big questions Council is making here to make sure there's a way to track the progress. Top risk factors were also identified tonight, things like substance use problems among teens, along with a list showing the types of violence that impacts the city most as ranked by youth, parents, and community stakeholders. The first one was gang violence, but second on the list, domestic violence, which impacts almost every corner of our community.
Negative impact for the kids in terms of their school performance, their ability to develop social relationships, their ability to learn and see what a healthy relationship is as they're growing and developing.
Also tonight, leaders discussed the need for more pallet shelters to address the city's homeless needs. We'll have a full update on the meeting for you at 10 o'clock.
Aurora is launching a new program today in the hopes of reducing crime across the city. On Friday, we told you about the Aurora Safety and Security Grant Program. It allows eligible businesses, nonprofits, and community groups to apply to receive $10,000 for security upgrades, like for security cameras, alarms, and other anti-theft measures. The city has $3 million available for the program, but $500,000 of those are set aside specifically for businesses near East Colfax.
An arrest warrant has been issued for the partner of fired Aurora Police Chief Vanessa Wilson. Aurora Police say she made a false child sex abuse report about City Council member Danielle Jurinsky. Well, today Jurinsky addressed those claims.
Probably one of the worst moments of my life. I was almost inconsolable. The caseworker had to stop talking several times to allow me to regroup and try to calm down. It was hard to process a thought at that moment.
Denver 7 investigative reporter Jennifer Kovaleski spoke exclusively with Councilwoman Jurinsky right before a press conference she held today. She believes this is in retaliation for comments she made about Wilson before she was fired.
We did. Councilwoman Jurinsky was emotional as she described the impact these allegations have had on her family. She said for weeks they couldn't sleep and she lived in fear she might lose her son.
You know, as a mother, getting a call like that is probably your worst nightmare.
Aurora City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky is speaking as a mother and talking about the allegations in this 9-page arrest affidavit.
They are awful.
Court documents claim former police chief Vanessa Wilson's partner made a false report against Jurinsky. Investigators say Robin Nisita told caseworkers the councilwoman sexually assaulted her toddler in front of coworkers.
DHS found that this was completely unfounded. These were completely unfounded allegations against me.
A felony arrest warrant has now been issued against Nisita for retaliation against an elected official.
It's devastating. You have so many thoughts, go through your mind, and of course, worst case is, what if they take my child?
Jurinsky says the complaint led to an agonizing 15-day DHS investigation.
You cannot weaponize a system that is in place to protect children at your discretion to try and take a happy, healthy, and very loved little boy away from his mother.
The call to social services was traced back to Nisita's personal cell phone. And the complaint was made a day after the councilwoman went on the radio and was outspoken against then police chief Vanessa Wilson. leading investigators to believe it was retaliation.
Vanessa Wilson is trash.
You obviously have faced a lot of criticism for your words. What do you want to say about that?
I can take the criticism and I can take the name calling and you know, I mean, my businesses have been attacked. I've had censure charges against me. I mean, you name it. The last 6 months have been absolutely brutal. But you go after someone's child, and that's a different arena.
The councilwoman gave us the okay to use those photos of her son. And here's more. Nisita worked for the Social Services Department where she made the complaint. She was a social worker at Arapahoe County for 5 years. Nisita resigned from her position earlier this month. The councilwoman's attorney is now calling on every case she worked to be investigated. I'm Denver 7 investigative reporter Jennifer Kovaleski.
Coming up on Denver 7 News at 8, Denver firefighters blocked from providing some of the most basic care.
What was it like to arrive on scene, know you could help somebody, but the rules said you couldn't?
Very frustrating.
Next, Denver 7 investigates decisions made by Denver Health preventing firefighters from administering IVs during emergencies.
It was great to see a little bit of thunderstorm activity earlier today. There'll be more tomorrow and a lot more by the end of the week.
A decades-old ice cream shop makes its sweet return to the metro.
It's time that we let people in and interact with the staff.
Bonnie Bray gives us the scoop on welcoming customers back inside their store for the first time in 2 years.
It's important for us to be part of the community, and coming into the store is an important part of that.